Greetings, everybody, and Happy New Year. Some of you might think I'm a little late coming to the Happy New Year party, but actually, I think my timing is just right on. I haven't been on. I was looking back at my videos and realized I hadn't done anything since just by the end of December, about 3 weeks ago. I think I published my last video. And I'm not sure, I have to go back and listen, but I'm pretty sure that I promised that I was going to make a little commitment coming up in this year, that I was going to be a little more regular about posting my videos. Well, I still intend to do that. I think my goal was, I was hoping to do perhaps 2 videos a week. Try Monday or Tuesday, like the beginning of the week, something for those people that are interested in tarot or other, maybe some kinds of form of divination, something related. And later in the week, something else. Something else. Like around, Thursday or Friday. Perhaps, for the weekend at least. Something else for those of you who have other interests. We've got a lot of people requesting a lot of different kinds of videos. I've had people request, just more daily life happenings, maybe some things on the garden, maybe some things on cooking, etc. So that's what I'm going to bring to you today. Because I think it is perfect timing for this video, which is kind of on timing. It's kind of on timing. Whether you live in this country or you live outside of our country, you are very aware that yesterday was a very big day for us here in the United States. And this is when some of you might want to go forward a few minutes. I'm not going to get too political, because it's not necessary to get political. That's not why we're here. I just want to say that you would be living under a rock if you did not think that things are going to be a little different beginning yesterday than they were for the last 4 years. Whether you think it's improving for the better or the worse, it's different. It's going to be different, and it's going to affect everybody around the world too, because we're going to have a different place. We're going to have a little bit of a different relationship, I think, with the rest of the world than we've had in the 4 years. The reason I'm bringing that up is it has been affecting me very greatly. It has been affecting me. I have felt, especially over the last 2 months, since actually the election, or a little before the election, just very unsettled. It was very unsettling. Not knowing what was going on. Not what's going on. People are really on edge. There's been a lot of the virus continues, and pandemic, it seems to be even more far-reaching than it was. Just we're really off balance in so many ways. And if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you know that balance is everything for me. It's everything for me. I can hardly function if I feel that I'm off balance. So those of you who were waiting for me to begin the new year, and earlier in the month, I'm sorry that I disappointed you, but I do consider yesterday, which was the beginning of my new year, and as a result, then this is my first video of the new year, and I do hope to get back into things now. I feel like I'm getting to a place where I could maybe start to do some things again. I've had some requests. I did also mention in not too long ago that we were going to be starting tarot classes again. I'll be talking a little bit more about that with maybe the next video or within the next week or so. We were going to do it in January. It just was not the time for me to do January, to do tarot classes. It was just, I was not in a space where I was centered enough to even try to teach somebody how to read the tarot. But I think we can get into it now. This is a good time. We're getting up, so I'm going to be making the final arrangements for that. So if you have not inquired and you're interested, please just send me a message, and I'll make sure you get the information. I'll need a contact information for you, contact address, like an email address, and I'll be sure to put you on the list of people getting information about tarot classes. I've had several people requesting readings, private readings, and I will absolutely be available for that. Again, I wasn't in a place that I felt comfortable to do that, but now I'm getting myself back at center. I have not even in any way begun my new year until yesterday. As a matter of fact, you know that I have my bullet journals that I work through for several years now, and daily. It's a part of my daily routine, and I did not even take the wrapping off of my 2020 journal until yesterday. I didn't touch it. I had to stop for a minute. We had a little thing going on in the yard with the neighbors' dogs and my dogs, and dogs in the pool and dogs in the yard, and it's a little bit of a comedy routine going on out there. Anyway, we were talking a little bit, I think, we were talking about timing of things, and now that we're getting back into the new year, I've got my journal up and going. I haven't done my tarot reading, my spread for the year, which I'm real excited to do this year. I'm going to do a little different, and I think I'm going to be filming that video tomorrow or over the weekend sometime. So look for that if you're interested in tarot, or if you're just interested in my yearly forecast for myself. Look for that at the beginning of the week, and I will also try to talk a little bit more about the tarot classes at the time. But that's not why really I'm here today. I'm here today because we're talking about timing. And timing is just crucial in so many ways in our life. We know that. And I was just thinking, I've been really busy. You might see behind me, I have my food dehydrator behind me. I also have my pressure canner on the stove here. I've been busy for the last week, pretty much, getting my pressure canner up and going. I have to go through some things that I've had in storage from the garden, left over from the garden, that the time was ripe for them to be canned. In October, my husband harvested 72 pounds of sweet potatoes from our yard, which were the result of tomato slips that I had grown in my windowsill. You might have seen one of my early videos, not that terribly early, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. If I could maybe show you that. Our very first experience with growing sweet potatoes. We have learned that you have to grow the potatoes from slips. You don't plant seeds, you don't plant pieces of potato like you do with potatoes. You plant slips. And I'm going to show you a little bit how I'm doing that today. But anyway, we harvested these 72 pounds of potatoes, and they've been in our storage on our seed porch out here, in the coolest place we can find. We do not have a basement or a cellar, root cellar of any kind. Our garage it does not stay cool, because our weather is just too warm for that. So they stored pretty good since October, and we've been eating them since October. But now they're starting to grow. They're starting to sprout. I don't know if you can see that. These are some of the, not quite the largest. These are like medium-sized potatoes. We had some bigger, but they're all starting to sprout, and some are sprouting a lot. Some are sprouting a lot. Maybe you can see that one. I don't know how well you can see. I can never tell till I go to edit, and I go, oh, you can see that fine. But I don't know. But anyway, these are really nice green sprouts. You can see off of that. Off of this small potato, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, down here 5, there's one 6, 7 or 8 places already that we're starting to form what we're going to call slips. We're called slips because they are the plant grows out of the potato, and it's going to grow on this big long vine, and then we're going to separate it from the potato, and then we're going to put that in water, down in water glass, and we're going to let it form roots. And once it forms Why do I say that when I say roots? When it forms roots, then it's ready to be planted in the garden. And they go in the garden about April. Here for us, they go. I like to get them in by Earth Day. They go into like in April, and like I said, we harvested them in October. Maybe they would have been ready in September. I'm not sure, but we left them to October, and they were perfectly fine. They've been stored in a cool place on our sea porch. We've been eating them, but now you see it's time that we have to do something more with them, or we're going to lose a lot of potatoes. So I've been spending a lot of my time the last couple days processing some potatoes. And first I'm going to tell you what I did with all the ones that were nice, not sprouted. I mean, I pulled these out. I pulled about 5 or 6 out here to grow slips from. And if we are successful, I believe this will be the first year that we will get completely potatoes. All of our potatoes will have come from our own potatoes. Which last year I think we purchased 4 organic potatoes, just organic potatoes at Sprouts or something like that. No fancy store. And brought them home, and this is what I did. I'm going to show you what I did with them. I just got a jar, or you can use, I have a wide mouth pint jar here, but you can use a glass. You can use whatever you want. I've used glasses, the same glasses I have my tea in here, which I'm drinking. Even a short, it depends on the size of potatoes. It could be like an old pickle jar. It could be anything you want. But it has to be able to be big enough that the potato will, some mouths of jars or glasses are too small. And depending on the potato, like the potatoes I used last year were a little bigger than this. But it is my understanding that a potato will grow about the same amount of slips. A small potato grows about the same amount of slips out of it than a larger potato. So we'll see if that's true. But just in case, I'm going to plant do a few extra. But anyway, you just want to be able to make sure it goes. See, some of the bigger ones, sometimes they get fat. And you just want to make sure, this is a good example, that the potato will go, you have room for the potato to go in the jar, okay? And all we're going to do is take the potato and go about halfway. There's a flatter side and a pointier side. And people think that matters. I've never seen it to absolutely matter, because I think even some years I cut the potato in half and I've grown slips from both halves. So in that case, it doesn't matter at all. But this year I'm just going to keep the potato whole. And I'm going to just take, I'm going to take a toothpick. Whoops, a toothpick. Let me get a colored, I have colored ones so maybe you can see them better. Toothpick, and I'm just going to, I want to get the potato to sit down in the water. So I'm just going to put some, I think three toothpicks. Slide 3 toothpicks in here so that it will sit nice and straight in the jar. There you go. Just 3 toothpicks stuck in the jar. Can you see that? So that it'll sit on the jar like that. And I'm still going to have room to have some water inside. And then I'm going to take water and I'm going to just fill the jar. And I pretty much fill it to the top. But I won't right now because I have to move it over to my windowsill. But there I have water clear up to the top here. And it just sits there and you can see the rest of the potato. Some of the potato is under the water. And that's what you want. And pretty soon, that potato is going to sit like this. And I put it over on my kitchen counter or up on my windowsill. And I get light in the windowsill, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't seem to require it requires light. It doesn't require sun. But that's just where I have it, and it's by my water. So I go ahead and it's near the faucet, so I can just fill it easily. But then I just make sure that the water level stays up, and about every once or twice a week, I will dump this water and put fresh on water because the water gets a little yucky. And then you're going to watch, and things are going to grow, and they'll grow out of the top, but you'll even sometimes get them to grow out of the bottom. And sometimes they'll even grow roots on them while they're still attached to the potato. So all you have to do is just pull them off, and then they're ready to plant. But I'll show you what happens. If you look at the video that I have links to, I think I can show you too if you're curious. But I'll try to take you along on my journey with my sweet potatoes, so maybe that will help. So anyway, and then I'm going to grow some slips in my garden. So the point I'm trying to make about this is, what does it have to do with timing? Well, it was timing for everything. It was time. It was time for these potatoes. If I wasn't going to do something with them, they were going to rot. So I canned as many as I could, the nicest ones. I canned, and these are in my pressure canner. They have to be done in the pressure canner. And I have 16 quarts of potatoes in the pressure canner. And then, oh, and by the way, I did them, when I was doing them, I peeled my potatoes, of course, first. Some people peel them afterwards, but I peeled them. And then my chickens just went crazy. My chickens got all the peels and the bits. And so they benefited from this. Let me put that there. And there were some potatoes that were left that, of the rest of my potatoes, I still have a big bowl here of potatoes. But these are small. Some of them are really small. They're small like that, or they're small like, just little thin things. Which they're edible, absolutely edible. But for me to eat this, the peel has gotten a little bit tough on it, so when I peel it, there's not going to be a lot of potato left inside. So I'm going to, I cut the ends off, save them for my chickens. My chickens are going to eat these. They're going to go crazy. And then I'm going to just slice these. And I'm going to make little treats I'm going to dehydrate them. I put them on my dehydrator tray. And I'm making little treats. I cut them about 3/8 of an inch thick, or so. It's hard to cut a potato straight. But I'm going to dehydrate these, and then these are going to be like sweet potato treats for my dogs. My dogs are going to love these. Okay? Get it nice and leathery. And you can do this in the oven. You don't have to have a dehydrator in a very low oven. But some people say you need to peel it because sweet potato peelings are hard for a dog to digest. They're absolutely not. People eat sweet potato peelings all the time. My husband eats his all the time. My chickens eat them. They're not toxic. Like potato peels of a white potato are not so good for some people. But anyway, because the green, you have to be careful if there's any green on it at all. It's toxic. But sweet potatoes are fine. And sweet potatoes, this little tiny bit of peel on here, by the time this dehydrates, it's going to be such a small amount that they're fine. And if you see, my dogs eat sticks. They're fine. They can eat any of this stuff. So anyway, I'm just going to cut the ends off, which I have to cut the ends off when I can my sweet potatoes too, because that's fibrous and you don't want that to be in the canner. That's just not as good. And some of these are going to be smaller than others. But some of them are going to be really nice little, it's going to of course shrink when it dries, so it'll be a nice little treat, a nice little healthy treat for my dogs. I'm trying to get my dogs off of packaged dog biscuits or treats or whatever they call them, which have so many bad things in them and fillers. They're just not good for the dogs. But they like their treats. They do like their treats. Okay, so anyway, all of this, as I'm continuing on here, I was just thinking to myself, what does all of this really have interest? I mean, of course, some of you are also gardeners in your own right. I don't think it's very uncommon. Is it a coincidence, I was going to say, that so many witches are also gardeners, or so many gardeners lean towards tendencies of being sort of, witchy. Is that a coincidence? Do you think it's a coincidence? I don't think it is. Because first of all, we see the magic of gardening all the time. We see that all around us. I took 4 potatoes. I can take 4 potatoes that I bought at the grocery store last year, and I can from 4 potatoes get 72 pounds of potatoes. And now from those 72 pounds of potatoes, I can get more potatoes. You see, from those 4 potatoes, I can have an infinite supply of potatoes if I pay attention to timing. Why is it important? Why is timing important? Well, it's important. First of all, you saw that it was important that I didn't allow my potatoes to rot, that I knew when to harvest them. They have to be harvested at the right time. How long can they remain in storage when it's time for them to be canned? I had to know when they have time for them to be canned. I have to pay attention to these things. When I go to do the slips, I have to know when. My potatoes showed me it was time. When I started seeing these sprouts on here, it reminded me it was time that I start my own slips. And I know if I want slips to plant in April or even March, March or April, I need to start them now. I need to start them, I could have waited till maybe February to do them, but it was time. It was telling me it was time. When I go to plant, when I went to harvest my potatoes when they were in the garden, usually a sweet potato, they stay beautiful and green all summer long. They love the heat, and usually they start, then all of a sudden, and sometimes they flower, and then all of a sudden those vines start to just kind of die back a little bit. And for a lot of people, that tells people that it's time to harvest. It's very important to pay attention also to the timing you put in your harvest, because here in California, I didn't see the signs that I saw them. I could see them so clearly maybe elsewhere. So I had to pay attention, because if I left them in too long, they would start to rot under the ground. Okay, so we need to pay attention not just to our environment, but we need to pay attention to the experiences that we have, to our experiences, to our knowledge that we acquire. Okay. We do the same kind of things. We do the same kind of things as witches when I was talking earlier about paying attention to the energies around me, the environment around me. Would that have been a good time to do a reading for somebody, a tarot reading for somebody? I wouldn't have been grounded myself in where I am. You can't take shortcuts in your magic. You can't take shortcuts in your gardening. You can't do that. We tried to take shortcuts, in 2020, when we were suddenly forced into quarantine. Our whole world changed, because I don't know if you recall that it was March of 2020, and it was just a matter of days before the Veggiepalooza was going to happen at the Fullerton Arboretum, where we usually went to purchase every year, the Veggiepalooza, all of our seed starts for our heirloom tomatoes and things, which was canceled. It was canceled. It was like just a few days before. I think that was St. Patrick's Day weekend when it usually happens. And that's exactly when we were put into quarantine. So, all of a sudden, I didn't have any starts. I didn't have any starts. I did not have any cucumbers. I didn't have any peppers. I didn't have tomatoes. Nothing started from seed. We were completely caught off guard. So I had to acquire where am I going to get my seeds? I have to find out how I'm going to get my seeds. How am I going to get them delivered to me in time? How am I going to grow things from seeds, start my seeds? How long is it going to take to get my things, them growing and get those plants in the ground? So subsequently, our plants did not go in the proper time. Our garden did not, we did not transplant our starts into the ground at the proper time. And then we had an unseasonably warm early summer. So we had heat waves that were just killers on our garden. I started cucumbers. I believe I started cucumbers 4 or 5 times, all told, in spring and summer of 2020, and I didn't get a cucumber. I did not get one cucumber. I had to buy cucumbers to make my pickles. I mean, seriously, it was awful. And my tomatoes, I did okay. My tomatoes, I got tomatoes, but oh my goodness, it took so long. And we're still now harvesting our peppers. They're very late. And it's a time now where I usually am cutting back my pepper plants and having them take a little rest before we start again when the heat comes back. So timing, if we get off in our timing, the same thing happens if we get off in our timing when we're doing magic, if we're doing divination, when we're doing anything like that. If we're not grounded, if we haven't prepared our area, if we haven't prepared and grounded ourselves and prepared our soil and prepared our beds and put in good strong, plants and good strong things, if we don't do it in a proper way. Think about when you want to, every time I do a video for my witch's cupboard, something that's in my witch's cupboard, I talk about the importance of being prepared, and having things ready to go in your cupboard for when you need them. Because when you need them, you need them. If a friend of yours is ill and you want to set up a candle or do a healing altar for somebody, you can't wait until you go and get supplies for that to build up. You want to have candles at the ready. You want to have maybe incense or oils or whatever it is you use, stones. You want to have done your homework ahead of time so that you know what you're going to use. You don't want to just begin then and try to put it all together at that time. You're not going to have the results that you want. You're not going to have the results you want. You might get some results, and maybe it's better than nothing at all, but it's still not giving you the results that you were aiming for in the first place. This happens with our garden. This happens with our, it happens with our witchcraft, right? All the same. So I recommend to you that you all I'm sorry, wait till I cut this before I talk. That you take a good inventory. I recommend that you take inventory of what it is that you want to accomplish in your magic, in your witchcraft. Do you want to become an accomplished tarot reader? If you want to become an accomplished tarot reader, you need to be able to have a good, clean space to work with. You need to be sure that you have a good deck that's easy for you to read, that you can connect with. You want to do your homework and really get to know your cards. You're not going to just jump into a reading for your aunt or your cousin or yourself if you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so anyway, I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing. I'm going to continue cutting up my potatoes and getting them ready for the dehydrator. I'm going to get the rest of my potatoes. I think I have 5 or 6 in here. I'm going to do at least 5. Maybe I'll do 6. I don't know. We'll see. And I'll get them all ready to go up in the windowsill. My chickens are going to get a treat. My dog's going to get a treat. And we're going to have a treat with 16 gourds. 16 gourds of beautiful sweet potatoes that we grew from our garden. Okay, well, anyway, Happy New Year to everybody, and thank you so much for watching. And if you're here, thank you so much for not giving up on me and walking away when I didn't post a video for a while. I'll really try to be better. Thank you so much for watching. Like always, I'm Rebecca. I wish you blessings.